Welcome to Pure Yoga. We're doing a practice today that's involving planks and chair. So bringing yourself firstly to child's pose, knees nice and wide. Start to walk the feet towards the hands towards the front of the mat and the chest towards the floor, and maybe the forehead reaches. Trying to keep those sit bones as close towards the heels as you can. They don't have to necessarily reach if you haven't got that range of movement, but just try and bring them down as close as you possibly can. Take a nice long deep breath in neutral spine. Try and fill the whole of that torso with air, and on an out breath, draw everything back, abdominal contract to blow that air back out of either the nose or the mouth. Your choice to maybe switch into that Ujjayi breathing, slight restriction at the back of the throat using just the nose only, or maybe you want to continue to take the exhales out of the mouth. Take a scan from the fingertips to the toe tips, just having a little check-in with how that body feels as you've arrived in practice. Being aware of tight spots, injuries, and you always know to come back to this place if you wish if something doesn't feel right. Walking the hands to the right side of the mat. Bringing your left hand on top of the right, sinking your chest to that inner right thigh, and then just let the head settle again and relax through the shoulders and the neck. Encouraging that left sit bone back towards left heel and breathing into that left side rib cage. Then walking the hands across to the left side, right hand on top of the left. Take a moment here, relax the shoulders, the neck, bring the head back to the mat. Right sit bone back towards right heel. Then come in back to a neutral spine with the hands in the centre and just take a long breath in here and a long breath out. Then making your way up onto your hands and knees, bringing the heel of the hands under the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips, tops of the feet flat. Keeping that left hand grounded, reaching right hand forward towards the front of the mat, sending your left toes to the back of the mat, and then lifting that left leg without arching the lower back, squeezing the left bum cheek to do that. Toes of the left foot back towards the shins, and feel like you're planting that left foot on that imaginary back wall. On your next out breath, bring elbow to knee and squeeze. And on your next in breath, lengthen back out. One more of those, elbow to knee squeeze. And on an in-breath, lengthen back out. You can choose to keep this long line if you wish, or bend into the left knee, squeezing the left foot to the bum and hold it there. Or bring the right hand behind to take a hold of that left ankle, and then push that left foot into the right hand and resist with the right hand and pull back. Maybe you start to lift up the chest, lift up the gaze, lift up the left knee a little more to take it into a slightly deeper back bend. Keep supported by left hand and the right knee. One more breath here, long breath in and a long breath out. And release that left knee back to the mat, right hand back to the mat. Take a little rock of the hips from side to side. Let's take the opposite side. So this time your left hand comes forward and your right foot goes back. Try not to arch the lower back as you raise that right leg up to hip high. Toes of the back foot back towards the shins. Keep drawing the belly up and away from the floor. On your next out breath, bring elbow to knee and squeeze. And on an in breath, lengthen it back out. One more, elbow to knee and squeeze. And on an in-breath, lengthen it back out. You can either hold that long line or bend that right foot towards the bum. Or maybe bring the left hand behind to take a hold of the ankle of the right foot. Then push that right foot into the hand, resist with the hand and pull back. And then maybe lift the gaze, the chest, the right knee a little higher to find that back bend. Take a long breath in here. And a long breath out. Release that right knee and left hand back to the mat. Take a rock of the hips from side to side. Let's take a little spinal articulation. Breath in, lifts the head, lifts the bum, drops the belly. Breath out, we fold it in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. And again, lift the head, lift the bum, drop the belly. and back to that fold of cat. Come back to a neutral space, tabletop position. Take your right foot off the mat, roll onto your right side, lifting your left hand up towards the ceiling. Then turn the left palm forward and reach it up and over the head. Squeeze the outside of the left bum cheek to raise that left leg up higher. On an out breath, bring elbow to knee and squeeze. And on an in breath, lengthen it back out. One more, elbow to knee and squeeze. And in breath, lengthen it back out. You can stay here or bend the left knee foot towards the bum. Maybe bring the left hand behind to take a hold of that left ankle. Then push the foot into the hand and resist with the hand and pull back and flare the ribs. Maybe turn the gaze to the front of the room. Maybe lifting that left knee a little higher. One more long breath in and long breath out. And then release that left knee to the mat, left hand to the mat. Take a rock of the hips from side to side. Bringing your left foot then off the mat, rolling onto your left side, stepping your right foot back, reach the right hand up. Turn the right palm forward and reach it up and over the head. Squeeze the right bum cheek to raise that right leg up to hip height. And then on an out breath, bring elbow to knee and squeeze. In breath, lengthen it back out, push the heel away. One more, elbow to knee, squeeze. And lengthen it back out. Choice to stay long line or bend the right knee, right foot towards the bum, or maybe take right hand to take a hold of the right ankle. Push the foot into the hand, resist with the hand, push back, and maybe take a little back bend, maybe send the gaze towards the front of the room. Keeping nice and firm with your stability of that left hand, left knee. Long breath in and long breath out. And then return back to all fours. Right knee to meet left, right hand to meet left. Take a rock of the hips. Then step yourself back to plank. Find plank first, shoulders over the heel of the hands. And then lift up the hips. And as you arrive in down dog, maybe have a little paddle of the feet, but try not to move the feet any further forward or any further back. And keep those hands where they are also. If you're happy then to bring those heels to a still position, encouraging them back towards the mat as far as they'll reach. Pushing the chest back towards the thighs and let the head hang in between both arms. Taking a vinyasa, we'll start with option 1. Come forward to plank, inhale. Drop the knees and lower the chest, exhale. Lift the chest on the inhale. Release back down, exhale. Toes tuck, chest back to thighs, inhale. Lift up the hips and squeeze the heels back on the exhale, back to downward facing dog. Option 2, forward to plank on the inhale. Lower straight body, exhale. Untuck the toes, lift the chest, inhale. Release the chest back down, exhale. Toes tuck, chest back to thighs, inhale. Lift the hips and squeeze the heels back on your exhale. Hold down dog for a breath. Choice to take one of those first 2 options, or if you're coming with me, come forward to plank, inhale. Lower to a hover, exhale. Lift the chest, inhale. And send it back to down dog, rolling over the toes, or send chest back to thighs, or meeting back in down dog. So starting with the first part of a flow, the first half of the first sequence, we'll be doing chair. Your weight stays in your left foot as your right leg lifts. Bend the knee and stack up with the hips. Realign the hips, bring the knee to the chest. Gaze in between the hands as you step your right foot through. Stabilise into the mat first, then raise the arms up to find your high lunge position, toes of the back foot. Then bring the hands to the chest, lean forward with the torso, bring your left elbow to hook your right knee. Push that right knee into the left elbow and help anchor the twist. Maybe your gaze is to the side or towards the back of the room or down towards your right foot. but keep that right knee bent quite deeply and the hips nice and low. So from this position, we're going to step ourselves forward to a chair position, but hopefully keep that bind of the left elbow on right knee. Gaze down towards the toes. Start to soften the left knee and then step it forward to meet your right. Bring the toes in line, knees in line, so the pelvis isn't twisting. Keeping the hips low and keeping that twist to the right side of the room. Take a long breath in, elongate that spine a little more. And a long breath out, push into the hands and turn the chest a little deeper. Then on an out breath, fold over the thighs, let the head hang, straighten the legs. Let the chest point towards those thighs. Have a nod, have a shake of the head. On your next in-breath, come to a half lift, fingertips or hands to shins, straighten legs, straighten back. And on an out-breath, fold back over the thighs, bend the knees, and on an in-breath, raise the arms and find your regular chair. Feather-light touch through the toes. Hips are nice and low, arms are lifting up as high as you can without flaring those ribs. Tuck your tailbone down and under and lift your lower belly up. One more breath here. And then bring the hands back to the chest. Put your weight into your right foot, lift the toes of the left. Then start to straighten up through that right leg. Bringing yourself to a left knee lift, toes back to the shins. Focus on something in front of you first. And then start to lean forward with the torso and push back with that left heel. You can stay at 45 or try and bring yourself to the full 90, full warrior 3 expression. Try and keep your left hip in line with your right hip and the left toes pointing down to the mat. Keep stable through your right hip on that stabilizing right leg. One more breath here. And then start to pivot that left leg back through and bring that left knee back up to hip height. Hold that for a breath. Then we're slowly transitioning back to high lunge. So soften your right knee, send your left leg slowly and gracefully to the back of the mat. Plant it down. Once it's planted, raise both hands up to the ceiling to find your lunge position. And then bring both hands down to either side of the right foot. Keep the hips low as you step that right foot back to meet left. On an in-breath, lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back, find downward facing dog. Take a breath in, come forward to plank. And do your variation of Vinyasa, either drop knees, straight bodies, or hover. Lift up the chest on the inhale. And make your way back, your transition back to down dog, either chest to thighs, or rolling over the toes, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Let's take that on the opposite side. Your weight stays in your right foot as your left leg lifts. We bend at the knee and we stack up with the hips. Then realign the hips, bring the knee to the chest. Step the left foot through, find stability first. Then raise the arms to find your high lunge position, arms lifting high. Then bring the hands to the chest and lean forward with the torso. Let your right elbow hook your left knee. Resist with that left knee and push back into the elbow. Push into the hands to help you find a rotation. The aim is to bring those thumbs as close towards the sternum as you can reach. That right heel's pushing back and you're engaging that right upper leg. You can either keep the bind or release it out for a moment. Gaze down towards the left toes, soften the right knee, and step your right foot forward to meet your left without that right knee popping any further forward than your left knee. Take a long breath in, elongate that spine, and a long breath out to rotate it a little deeper. And then allow the body to fold over the thighs, let the head hang. Release the hands to as close to the mat as you can bring them with straight legs. On an in-breath, come to a half lift. Tabletop back, straight legs. On an out-breath, bend the knees and fold. Then raise the arms up on the in-breath to find your chair position again. Feather-light touch through the toes for a moment. Bum down, belly up. Then bringing the hands back to the chest. Bring your weight into your left foot, lift your right leg. And then start to straighten through your left leg and bring your right knee to hip height, right toes back towards the shins. Find your focus first and then start to lean forward with the torso, either 45 degrees or 90 for your full expression of warrior 3. Right hip in line with the left hip switching on to stabilise that left leg. Try and lift the belly up and away from the mat if you can to keep that nice strong engagement through the core centre. Right foot stamping on that imaginary back wall, engaging that upper right thigh to straighten that right knee. And then slowly start to pivot that right leg back through and back up to hip height. Find a focus again here. Then we're slowly going to transition that right leg back, softening the left knee as you graciously step that right foot to the back of the mat. Raise both hands up and find your high lunge for a breath, stretching through the waist. And then bring those hands down either side of the left foot. Keep the hips low as you step your left foot back. Find plank for a breath. And then lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. Find your downward facing dog. And then take yourself a vinyasa, forward to plank, inhale. Lowering on your exhale. Lifting the chest on the inhale and taking it back to down dog on your exhale. So that's the first half of the first sequence. The next part is to include some plank. Come forward to a plank position. You can drop your right knee and turn your right foot off the mat if you wish, or roll onto your right side, reaching your left hand up. So remember, the right knee can stabilise you a little more if you need it. Holding this for a moment, really squeezing the right side waist to keep those hips lifted. Then pushing to the outside of the right foot, bring your left knee into the chest, bring your left hand onto either the ankle or the toes of the left foot, and then start to turn forward and bring that left foot to the front of the mat and toes of the back foot. Soften the right knee and step forward onto your left foot and raise that right leg up. Gaze back towards the back of the room to find standing half splits. If you want to bring your left hand onto the left ankle to find a 2-limb balance, or maybe you bring your right hand to join the left to find that 1-limb balance on that left leg. Squeezing the right bum cheek to raise the right leg higher, the outside of the left hip to stabilise that left leg. We're holding this position just for another breath, whether the hands are down or one down or none down. And then releasing the hands back down, soften the left knee, step your right foot back. Keep the hips low, step your left foot back to plank. And then lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back to find your downward facing dog. Take yourself a vinyasa, forward to plank on the inhale and lowering to the floor or hover, exhale. Lift up with the chest on the inhale and find your way back to down dog on your exhale. Ready to do the left side plank, coming forward to plank. Maybe you drop your left knee, then roll onto your left side, either straight legs or left knee dropped. Reach the right hand up, engage through the left side waist, and then firmly push into the outside of the left foot as you bring your right knee into the chest. Take a hold of the ankle with the right hand or the big toe, and then start to bring it forward to the front of the mat, toes of the back foot. Soften your left knee and then step onto your right. Engage the outside of the right hip. Gaze back towards the back of the room, lifting that left leg as high as you can. You can stay with 3 limbs. You can bring right hand to right hand ankle for 2 limbs, or bring the left hand onto the right ankle to bring that 1-limb balance in standing half splits. Really focusing on your breath, focusing on something that's not moving either at the tip of the toes or a little further back. Just holding for another breath. Then planting the hands, softening the right knee, stepping the left foot back. Your right foot back to meet your left foot to find plank. Take a breath in plank. Then without fussing with the hands and feet, lift the hips and squeeze the heels back, down dog. Let's take a vinyasa, forward to plank on the inhale and lowering your variation, exhale. Lift the chest on the inhale and find your way back to down dog. Either chest to thighs or over the toes. Coming down onto the knees. Feet together, bum back to the heels. Choice to take on some water here if you wish. Or like me, readjust your clothing. Ready to take on that second sequence. We'll be changing your balances. So if you're in child's pose, just take a long breath in, long breath out. And then meet me back in down dog. Stepping the feet back to plank, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back, no fuss of hands and feet. So we're starting with all that chair pose stuff before we do our change of balance. Your weight stays in your left foot, your right leg lifts, bend the knee, stack up with the hips. Then realign the hips, bring the knee to the chest, gaze in between the hands as you step your foot through. Your hips stay low as you raise the arms up to find your crescent lunge. Once you feel stable here, bring the hands back to the chest, lean forward with the torso. Your left elbow hooks your right knee, and we resist with the right knee and push back. Take a long breath in, elongate the spine, and a long breath out to rotate maybe a little deeper. Your left heel is squeezing to the back of the room and your left thigh is engaged. Then gaze down towards the right foot, soften the left knee and step that left foot to meet your right foot, keeping knees in line so the pelvis isn't twisting and we're only taking the rotation from the waist. Hopefully you've kept a bind and the hips low, but no problems if you haven't. And then start to fold over those thighs. Let the head hang, bring the hands towards the mat, have a nod, have a shake of the head. On an in-breath, come to a half lift, fingertips or hands to shins. Out-breath, fold, bend knees, and on an in-breath, raise hands to find your chair. Tuck the tail, lift the belly. Feather-like touch through the toes for a breath. Then bring the hands to the chest. Step onto your right foot, lifting your left leg, and then straighten through your right leg to find that left knee lifted to hip height. Bring your hand of your right onto your hip and your left hand to the ankle of that left foot. And then start to bring your left knee back and towards that right knee and squeeze the bum to push the hips forward. Choice to stay here. If you're coming with me with dancer pose, raise the right hand to the ceiling and then start to lean forward with the torso, lifting the left knee higher, pushing the left foot into the left hand and resisting and pulling back. So at the start of practice, we did something like this with both tabletop and side knee down plank to prepare you for this dancer pose. One more breath here, taking maybe a bit deeper in the back bend. And then slowly lifting back up, bringing your right hand back to the hip, left hand back to the hip and the left knee back through to hip height. Find your focus again here and your stability. Before we slowly send your left foot gracefully back, bending into your right knee, planting the left foot down. When you've landed, raise both hands up to the ceiling and then bring both hands down, either side of the right foot, stepping your right foot back to meet your left. Find plank for a breath. Then lift up with the hips, squeeze the heels back to find your downward facing dog. Then let's take a vinyasa, forward to plank, inhale, lowering, exhale, lift the chest, inhale, and back to down dog. On your exhale, meeting me back there, whether you've done the slightly longer vinyasa or not. Your weight stays in your right foot as your left leg lifts, bend the knee and stack up with the hips. Then realign the hips, bring the knee to the chest, Gaze in between the hands and step your left foot through. Keep your hips low, raise the arms, push into the feet, crescent lunge. Then bring the hands to the chest, lean forward with the torso, right elbow hooks your left knee, resist with the left knee, push back, push into the hands and find that rotation around to the left side of the room. Breathe in, elongate, breathe out, maybe find a little more rotation. And then gazing down towards that left foot, soften your right knee and step your right foot to meet your left. Keeping both knees in line and the toes in line, and that rotation around to the left, pushing that left knee more into that right elbow. And then start to fold over the hips. Let the head go, bring the hands to the floor and straighten the legs. On an in-breath, come to a half lift. And then bend the knees on an out-breath. And on an in-breath, raise the arms to find your chair. Bum down, belly up. Shoulders activating to lift those arms. Then bringing the hands back to the chest. Your weight comes into your left foot, your right leg lifts. Start to push into that left foot to raise yourself up to standing, right knee at hip height. Bring your left hand onto your left hip and your right hand onto your right ankle. And let that right knee come down to meet your left knee and the right foot towards the right bum cheek. Push the hips forward. You can stay here if you wish, or reach that left arm up towards the ceiling. Then start to lean forward to dancer pose, pushing the right foot into the right hand and resisting and pulling back, taking a wee back bend, lifting the right knee up as high as you can and keeping the left hand as high to the ceiling as you possibly can as well. One more breath here. And then start to lift back up. Left hand back to left hip, right knee back up to hip height, right hand to right hip. Find stabilising here first. And then soften the left knee and gracefully step that right foot back. When the right foot plants, raise the arms. And then bring the hands down either side of that left foot. Keep the hips low as you step your left foot back to plank. Take a moment in plank. And then lift up the hips. Squeeze the heels back. Find downward facing dog. Let's take a vinyasa. Forward to plank on the inhale. And lower on your exhale. Lift the chest on the inhale. And then make your way back either chest to thighs or over the toes, lifting up of the hips, squeezing of the heels back, pushing the chest back towards the thighs, the gaze towards the toes, the knees or the hips. Take a good long deep breath in and a long breath out. And just think about that's halfway through the second sequence. Ready to take our side planks. Come forward to a plank position. Choice to drop your right knee and take your right foot off the mat if you wish, or just roll to your right side. Reaching your left hand up to the ceiling, engaging the right side waist to keep those hips lifted. Then push energetically into that right outside edge of the foot. Bring your left knee to the chest, left hand onto shin, ankle or toes. And then start to turn yourself forward, bringing the left foot to the front of the mat and toes of the back foot. Keep your right hand down, reach your left hand up and rotate to the left, gazing up towards that left hand. Rotating maybe a little more through that waist. And then bringing your left hand down to the inside of your left foot. Drop your right heel to the mat and raise your right hand up and turn the chest and hips to the right side room. Hold that for a breath, pushing your left shoulder into that left knee to keep that left knee open. We're taking half moon from here, so bring your right hand onto your right hip. Bring your left fingertips a little further forward of your left toes. Step your right foot a footprint forward. And then step onto your left leg and lift your right leg up to hip height. Toes pointing out to the right side of the room. Fingertips of the left touching on the floor. If you found your stability and you want to raise the right hand to the ceiling and turn the chest a little more to the right side, finding that half moon standing balance, switching on the outside of the left hip to keep that left leg stable. Switching on the outside of the right hip to keep the right leg lifted. Long line through the torso, head in line with the spine. One more breath here. And then bringing your right hand down to meet the left, turn your hips and shoulders, soften your left knee and step your right foot back. Plant the hands and step your left foot back to plank. Hold plank for a breath. And then lift up the hips and squeeze the heels back to find your downward facing dog. Take yourself a vinyasa, forward to plank on the inhale. And lowering on your exhale. Lifting the chest on the inhale and finding your way back to down dog on your exhale, squeezing those heels back. So we have our left side to do of side plank. Come back forward to plank position. You can drop the left knee and turn the left foot off or roll onto the left side, reaching your right hand up. Switch on the left waist, muscles around those obliques. Push into the outside of the left foot, keep the hips high as you bring that right knee into the chest. Right hand onto shin, ankle or big toe, and then start to bring it forward to the front of the mat and toes of the back foot. Keep your left hand down, reach your right hand up and rotate the waist and gaze up towards that right thumb. Bringing your left hip forward, right hip back to align that pelvis. Left leg straight by engaging the upper left thigh. Then bringing your right hand down to the inside of the right foot. Drop your left heel to the mat. Then reach the left hand up and maybe gaze up towards that left thumb. Opening through the chest, pushing the right knee out with the right arm. One more breath here. And then bringing that left hand onto the waist, bringing your right fingertips just in front of your right toe tips. Step your left foot a footprint forward and then come onto your standing right leg, engaging the right hip to keep it stable, engaging the left hip to lift that left leg up to hip height. You can keep the hand on the waist or send that hand to the ceiling, maybe gazing out to the side, or up towards that left hand if you want to challenge the balance. Holding for a couple more breaths. Toes of that left foot pointing out to the left side of the room. Then start to lower the left hand to the mat, turn the chest and the hips back to the floor. Bend your right knee and slowly step that left foot back. Step your right foot back to meet the left. Hold plank for a breath. And then lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. Find downward facing dog. Let's take a vinyasa. Forward to plank, inhale, and lowering, exhale. Lift the chest, inhale, and find your way back to down dog on your exhale. Lifting the hips and squeezing the heels back, having a nod, shake of the head. Maybe coming down onto the knees for a moment, choice to take water, child's pose, or maybe adjust your clothing if it's slipping. And then when you're ready, let's meet me back in down dog. That went down the wrong hole. Bring the hands forward, tabletop position, step both feet back, find plank. Then lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back, find downward facing dog. So we're doing half of a sequence for the last one, which will include our chair and one more standing balance. Your weight stays in your left foot as your right leg lifts. We bend at the knee and we stack up with the hips. Then realign the hips, bring the knee to the chest. Gaze in between the hands and step that right foot through. Stabilise first as you raise the arms second. Then bring the hands to the chest. Lean forward, left elbow hooks the right knee, push into the knee, resist and push back, turn, rotate the chest. Then gazing down towards that right foot, soften your left knee and step that left foot to meet your right to find rotated chair. Left knee no further forward than your right knee, and feel that twist from the waist rather than the pelvis. Then start to let go of the twist, let the chest face the thighs, let the head hang and straighten the legs. On an in-breath, half lift, fingertips or hands to shins. Breath out, bend the knees. Breath in, raise the hands. Find your regular chair. Tail down, belly lift. Bring the hands back to the chest. Weight into your right foot, lift your left foot away. Start to straighten through your right leg. Find your focus first. Turn left knee out, ankle onto the top of that right knee. Start to bend into the right knee to find your figure four standing balance. Palms together and push into them to activate the arms. Switch on right hip to stabilize your right leg. Left hip to externally rotate your left hip. Just breathing into the depth of the pose. Maybe come a little lower and bend into that right knee a little further. One more breath here. And then push into the mat with the right foot, lift back up, tall through the crown, left knee back to hip height, and then with control, slowly send your left foot back, bending into your right knee, find it controlled. Raise the hands up when you've landed, and bring the hands down to the mat. Keep the hips low, step your right foot back, lift the hips, squeeze the heels back. So we're not going to do a vinyasa here, we're going to do rolling through to plank and back to down dog. So keep the head tucked as you roll through to plank on your inhale. And on your exhale, soften the knees to a hover, send the hips back. Lift the hips up and squeeze the heels back. 2 more of those. Roll through that spine. Inhale, soften the knees, send the hips to heels. Lift the hips up and squeeze the heels back. 1 more of those. Roll through, articulating the spine. Roll back, bending the knees, letting the hips go high. And squeeze the heels back. Let's take our left side. Weight stays in your right foot, your left leg lifts. Bend the knee and stack it with the hips. Realign the hips. Knee comes to the chest, gaze in between the hands, step the left foot through. Push firmly into the mat with the feet, then raise the arms to find crescent lunge. Then bring the hands together at the chest and lean forward. Right elbow hooks your left knee. Breathe in length, breathe out and twist. That right leg staying as straight as you can. Then gazing down towards the toes of the left foot, soften your right knee and step it forward to meet your left foot, keeping that rotated twist to the left. Right knee in line with the left. And then fold yourself over the thighs and let the head hang. On an in-breath, come to a half lift, tabletop back, straight legs. And then bend the knees, raise the arms. Find your chair position. Tuck your tail, lift your belly. Bring the hands to the chest. Put your weight into your left foot, raise your right leg up, then push into that left foot to grow tall through the crown. Turn your knee out and the right ankle onto the top of the left knee. Sink into that left knee, drop the right knee out a little further, go as low in the hips as you can. Push firmly into the mat. Open that right knee out maybe a little more if you've got that engagement of the right hip to do so, and the space on that inner right thigh. Just breathing easy as you hold your balance. It calms your nervous system, helps you to find focus. And then push into that left foot, reach up through the crown of the head. Right knee comes back up to hip height. And then slowly and mindfully softening the left knee and controlling that right foot to the back of the mat. Once landed, raise the hands up and release the hands down. Keep the hips low and step yourself back to plank. Hold plank for a breath. And then lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back, down dog. We're going to take a vinyasa, then our rolling plank back to down dog. First of all, vinyasa 3, forward to plank, inhale, lowering, exhale. Lift the chest on the inhale and make your way back to down dog on your exhale. Let's roll some planks to down dogs, rolling forward and articulating through that spine. And then bend the knees, send the hips back, lift the hips up, back to down dog. 2 more, roll through. Soften the knees, send the hips back, lift the hips up and back to down dog. Last one, roll it through. Soften the knees, send the hips back, lift the hips up, squeeze the heels back. Take a moment in down dog. And then step right foot to outside of right hand, left foot to outside of left hand. Sink the hips, turn the toes out, turn the heels in, and find yourself a Malasana squat for a few breaths. Closing the eyes and just taking a few moments to notice your right and left sides, how they feel now from the beginning of practice 45 minutes ago-ish. Easy breaths. And then planting the hands behind you, bring the bum into the centre of the mat, the heels to the front of the mat. We'll take a forward fold, a back bend, then make our way down to relaxation. Breath in, raise the hands to the ceiling, push the heels away. On an out breath, reach towards those feet. On an in breath, elongate, push those ribs forward. Out breath, fold over those thighs. Engage the upper thighs to push the knees down. Take another breath in here, try and create a little more length. And an out breath to find a little more depth. One more breath. Next breath in, reach those hands back up and then bring the hands behind you, fingertips pointing in or out if the wrists are a little tight. Take a bend into the knees, feet flat to the floor, then push into the feet, raise the hips up, squeeze the bum at the top, try and hold that reverse tabletop for the count of 5, 4, squeeze a little more, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lower that bum back to the mat, straighten the legs, arms out to shoulder height and give those wrists a shake. And then slowly lower all the way down to the mat using abdominal control, the long limbs to help you. And when you reach the floor with the shoulders, bring the arms down by the sides of the body, turn the palms up, separate the feet to the width of the mat, push into the heels, lift the bum, tuck the tail, and then just give those hips a little rock from side to side. Close the eyes, relax the jaw, let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth and those lips to gently pop. And just find yourself for the next few minutes consolidating everything you've just done in practice. Being aware of your breath, aware of the skin, muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments, connective tissue that goes across the whole body and the muscles, the blood that flows through the veins. Being aware of your mindset, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. Just noticing your body laying here on the mat, in the room you're in. Being aware of the sensation of touch of clothing, the parts of the body that are touching the floor. Being aware of sounds, smells, the taste on your tongue, the colours and shapes on the back of the eyelids. Switching in with all the sensations you have, but also connecting to your own wisdom, your intuition, your discernment. If you wish to stay here for longer, pause me now. Or if you want to come out with me, start to wriggle the fingers, the toes, rotate the wrists, the ankles. And then reaching the hands up and over the head, stretching through the fingers, the toes, maybe arching into that lower back. And then bringing the knees in towards the chest, giving those knees a hug. Maybe having a little rock of that body from side to side, massaging that spine, thanking it for practice. And then your choice to roll onto one side, or if you want to be a little more energetic, rolling up and down the spine a couple of times. And then the next time you come to seat, hold your seat, bring yourself into your most comfortable position. In my case, let the sun shine down. And on an in-breath, raise the hands to the ceiling, palms together at the top. On an out-breath, bring the hands to the chest and a soft gaze to the floor. Breathe in wisdom and peace. Breathe out love and joy. Namaste.